I'm Janice Fiamengo of the University of Ottawa. My theme today is the bizarre phenomenon we are witnessing, in which feminist activists mount hugely successful campaigns to belittle and ruin great men of our time. Many of you will remember the case of Larry Summers, respected economist, former United States Treasury Secretary, and president of Harvard University, who in 2006 found himself forced to resign his post as Harvard's president, not because he misappropriated research funds or lied on his curriculum vitae or made a mess of academic program reform, but essentially because he made some politically incorrect remarks about there being more male geniuses in mathematics than female ones. He thus set off a firestorm that even repeated apologies and offers of restitution would not lessen. As I've noted before to those under SJW attack, apologizing never helps. What exactly had Summers said? Well, he referred to the, quote, difference in the standard deviation and variability of male and female mathematical intelligence. Summers did not say that men were generally better than women at math. In fact, he said the opposite. But he said that at the genius level, there were more men than women. Both the course of history and the results of IQ tests provide evidence for his statements, which in no way claimed that women cannot or should not work in STEM, but that perhaps strenuous government-led efforts to equalize female and male numbers are misguided. Was he incontrovertibly correct? Do IQ tests provide proof of innate intelligence? Are IQ scores really an ironclad indicator of who can succeed in math and related fields? These are fascinating questions worth debating. But Summers' fellow academics and the general media were not the least bit interested in debate or the pursuit of truth. Instead, it was quickly agreed almost universally that Larry Summers was a sexist pig who thought women couldn't do math, and ultimately the axe had to fall. Summers surely was not the first such case of an accomplished and seemingly powerful man drummed out of his position because of one, in this case, good faith bit of commentary. But his was a very public takedown, and I see his disgrace a decade ago as the beginning of what has become standard practice in a movement to put men on permanent notice. No matter how seemingly impeccable their credentials and status, they hold their positions on the sufferance of the feminasty class. All it takes to lose everything is one transgression, no matter how trivial and unintentional, and no matter how abjectly repented. According to the priestesses of the new religion of our times, for even one small sin, depending on who you are, of course, there is no forgiveness. At least with Summers, one could understand the fuss. The man made a comment about the capacity for genius that he knew was going to ruffle feathers. He made provocative statements without, it seems, the intellectual agility or fortitude to pull it off. In the 2014 case of the astrophysicist Matt Taylor, part of the European Space Agency team that sent a tiny probe 4 billion miles through space to land on a comet, in that case, the outpouring of Twitter abuse and anger and feminine self-pity bore absolutely no relation to any reality. Matt Taylor is, by all accounts, a classic man genius, incredibly high-achieving and somewhat reality-challenged. Like many crazily talented science nerds, he has some of the qualities of an overgrown adolescent with all his mental energy seemingly focused on that thing that he can really do well. Cut the man some slack. Yet he found himself in the doghouse after he donned a Hawaii shirt a female friend had made for him with images of scantily clad, computer game-style beauties. And what happened after he appeared on camera wearing that shirt to discuss the achievement of his team was true biopolitical witch-hunting madness, a deluge of resentment and imbecilic hurt feelings that beggars belief. Many of the complainants charged that the shirt was a symbol of the purportedly ever-present sexism keeping women out of science. And as the angry tweets increased in volume and hysterical conviction, Taylor's supposed sexist insensitivity was made to totally blot out his achievements in astrophysics. The tone-deaf outrage was perfectly expressed in a headline in the magazine Verge that at first I took for satire, thanks to its absurd moral equivalency making. "I don't care if you landed a spacecraft on a comet," ran the headline. "Your shirt is sexist and ostracizing." I couldn't believe it wasn't a joke. The subheading drove the point home with histrionic emphasis. "That's one small step for man, 3 steps back for humankind." Even after Taylor issued a tearfully contrite apology, have I mentioned that apologies don't help? Even after this genius, at the time of his incredible triumph, was reduced to a groveling admission of his big mistake, the gender justice warriors were not satisfied, criticizing the European Space Agency itself for allowing Taylor to wear a shirt that, quote, demeaned 50% of the world's population. Likely, there were even calls for shirt police to be on hand from now on to combat future sartorial microaggression. Witnessing the savaging of that goofy and super smart man was sickening. But at least Matt Taylor is still, as I understand it, doing his work, having survived his valley of humiliation. The same cannot be said for Nobel Prize-winning scientist Sir Timothy Hunt, whose life will never be the same after he was forced to resign in June of 2015 from his honorary position at the University College London and from the Royal Society Biological Sciences Awards Committee. The 72-year-old Hunt's offense was about equivalent to Taylor's, a mild, self-deprecating joke about his, quote, trouble with girls, made as a toast at a science journalist conference luncheon. After the joke about how he was always falling in love with girls or having them fall in love with him in the lab, and how they cried when criticized, he went on to say, quote, "Now seriously, science needs women, and you should do science despite all the obstacles, and despite monsters like me." So it was actually kind of a feminist speech, bowing to the woman as victim theme and paying homage to women's putatively heroic contributions to science, which are actually, let's admit it, in no way comparable to men's contributions. But regardless, no amount of pro-woman rhetoric by Sir Tim could make up for that initial joke, the reference to girls crying when they're criticized in the lab, which was quickly tweeted across social media by one woman, Connie St. Louis, a City College London instructor, with a puffed-up CV about her achievements in journalism and a supersized sense of feminist rage, who disseminated a part of Hunt's luncheon toast, only a part, the bad part, as an example of shocking misogyny. Befuddled and desperately sorry, have I mentioned the uselessness of apologies, Hunt went like a lamb to the slaughter, prostrating himself abjectly before a largely unsympathetic media and dutifully resigning from his post at University College London, while a sanctimonious spokesperson for the college declared that its ultimate concern was for gender equality and support for women in science. The great goddess be praised. Women across the globe who had ever lit a Bunsen burner or poured a beaker of chemical fluid took to Twitter to announce sarcastically that they had cried only 5 times that day and had fallen in love only twice, thus showing what plucky spirits they were and how wittily they did battle with the patriarchal likes of Sir Tim. Amidst the sharpening of knives and the very loud patting of feminist backs, the actual achievement of Sir Timothy was almost entirely lost. So he won a Nobel Prize. Well, let's just consider it for a moment. The 2001 Nobel Prize webpage explains the significance of Hunt's findings, pointing out that his research was, quote, important in understanding how chromosomal instability develops in cancer cells, and explaining that, quote, the findings may in the long term open new principles for cancer therapy. Yes, it's that dramatic, that cliched. Tim Hunt has made a significant contribution to the cure for cancer, but we don't want his kind around our research labs. Hunt's discovery of how cell division is regulated is the kind of once-in-a-lifetime achievement that all the affirmative action hiring and special scholarships and tiptoeing around women's feelings cannot replicate. And in himself, Hunt is a supreme example of the innovation, creative thinking, and dedicated hard work that epitomizes Western cultural progress, advanced largely by men, it must be said, though with worthy contributions from a number of women. When a brilliant man's benefactions to the human race are outweighed by a simple self-deprecating joke, we are witnessing a powerfully malevolent force in ascendance. So can that force be countered? Can we change a cultural climate that sees individual men as disposable, while still demanding that men in general step up to provide cures for cancer and to help us understand the universe? Here are my prescriptions for what they're worth, indebted to Vox Day's book, SJWs Always Lie. First, good men, and good women too, have to stop apologizing for trivial or non-existent mistakes. Don't accept the version of yourself that your neurotic and vindictive enemies foist upon you. Don't think for a moment that these enemies who aim at your personal destruction can be appeased or reasoned with. You don't have to feel ashamed because you spoke your mind or made a mild joke or offended a bunch of humorless zealots. Laugh it off, believe in yourself. There's no guarantee that you won't be destroyed anyway, but at least you'll go down with dignity and your example may inspire others. Second, don't resign under pressure. Get a lawyer, learn your rights. Don't sign any confidentiality agreements that will force you to remain silent as your employer forces you out. And don't expect that powerful companies or institutions or government bodies will act fairly by you or will even care about your side of the story. Assume from the beginning that no one in a position of power will step in to help you. So be prepared to help yourself and defend your position and hold your head up high. Finally, if you witness a social media mobbing, don't sit back and feel relief that it isn't you. If you're in a position to do so, in other words, if you have a secure source of livelihood, please get involved. Express your contempt for campaigns to destroy good people over minor or non-existent transgressions. Show up the attack strategy for the puerile and emotionally retarded revenge project that it is, and defend merit wherever you see it. Don't be cowed by the self-righteousness of the feministes. Think for yourself and stop being afraid. Ultimately, the future of our civilization depends upon protecting men like Matt Taylor and Tim Hunt from the forces that would destroy us all.